Have you ever left a doctor's appointment feeling like you were somehow the problem, not your symptoms? Because personally, I think a lot of women walk into that room with real suffering, hot flushes, anxiety, exhausted brains, and walk out with leaflets. And the scariest part is how easily and normally hormone test results can be used as a conversation killer. This is my story of perimenopause care, and how it connected, almost painfully, for me, to a storyline I watched in EastEnders. What makes this really interesting is that it's not just one character's experience. It's a pattern. Some clinicians listen to the numbers, but miss the person. I was 41 when I finally started to suspect perimenopause. I'd been dealing with hot flushes, anxiety, and no energy for months, and it took me a while to connect the dots. If you take a step back and think about it, that delay isn't because women are slow, it's because life is noisy. In a hot summer during a pandemic, everyone was stressed, overheated, and running on empty, so your body has to fight for attention just to be noticed. When I went to my GP, one thing that immediately stood out was how quickly the conversation turned into a "you're too young." The doctor basically said it didn't fit the timeline. Personally, I think that's one of the most damaging forms of dismissal, because it flips the burden onto you. You're made to feel like you're Googling your own illness wrong. Here's the core factual bit. Menopause typically happens around age 51, but perimenopause can begin up to around 10 years earlier. So at 41, I wasn't some statistical anomaly. Still, my GP's doubt filled me with even more anxiety, because I'd already been living inside a something's wrong body for months. And I want to be really clear. It's not that blood tests can't help. They can. But what many people don't realize is that perimenopause isn't a clean lab test moment. It's a transition. Hormones fluctuate, symptoms are messy, and sometimes your lived experience matters more than a snapshot. From my perspective, when someone hears a hormone level's normal and treats that as there's nothing to see here, it can feel like your reality is being erased. After my tests came back, I was handed leaflets about mental health and CBT, and options like antidepressants or wait and see. I left the appointment heart racing and teary, and I wasn't even sure how to argue without sounding dramatic. Personally, I think that's part of the trap. Women feel pressured to prove symptoms instead of being supported by them. I also didn't feel depressed. My gut feeling was that I needed hormone replacement therapy, HRT, not because it's a magic fix, but because the symptom pattern matched. This raises a deeper question. Why does the healthcare system default to mental health framing when the body is clearly signaling? In my opinion, sometimes the mind label becomes a shortcut for clinicians who don't have time, training, or the confidence to treat the hormonal side properly. Then EastEnders brought this exact tension into my living room. Honey Mitchell, a character in her 50s, goes to her GP describing irregular periods, mood swings, and sleep problems. She's desperate and she's trying to balance work, relationships, and motherhood responsibilities, basically everything. Personally, I think what hits hardest isn't the symptoms. It's the feeling of having to keep functioning while your body is falling out from under you. What many people don't realize is that the moment honey is offered magnesium and vitamins instead of the bigger conversation about treatment options, the scene becomes emotionally accurate even if the clinical approach might be debated. She looks desperate because she's not asking for a miracle. She's asking to be taken seriously. And when antidepressants get floated alongside dismissive alternatives, it can feel like the system is saying, your suffering is real, but not relevant to the cause. Viewers reacted to it in a way that felt familiar to me. People said it was powerful but uncomfortable, because they recognized the speed of the pivot toward antidepressants. Personally, I think this is one reason the storyline lands. It mirrors what a lot of women experience. Relief is possible, but only after someone finally listens. And that's where my own story diverged. I booked a private appointment with a menopause specialist, the Newson Clinic, because I wanted to feel heard, and honestly, I needed action. Within about 30 minutes, I was prescribed HRT and I felt a huge wave of relief. This isn't me saying private care is the answer for everyone. It's me saying that being listened to can change everything. Your fear drops, your body feels validated, and suddenly you're not stuck in limbo. But here's the bigger issue I can't ignore. Not everyone can pay for specialist appointments. So what happens to women who can't afford that door to open? From my perspective, this is where healthcare becomes unfair, not in theory, but in practice. Women either get fast specialist attention or they get a slow grind of uncertainty, and that gap shouldn't exist. Menopause experts and campaigners have applauded the EastEnders storyline for highlighting how hard it can be to access body-identical hormone treatments. The message from clinicians like Dr. Louise Newson, at least as quoted publicly, was that resistance to prescribing safe, effective hormone treatments happens too often. Personally, I think what makes this especially frustrating is that hormones have been used for decades. The resistance isn't about a lack of options, it's about hesitation, systems, and habits. So what do you do if your GP dismisses you? I'm going to give you the most practical advice I wish I'd had sooner, because anxiety hates helplessness. First, keep a symptom diary. Dr. Naitaf Arif recommends a simple diary for about 2 to 3 months, tracking mood changes, sleep patterns, energy shifts, and how it affects work and relationships. Personally, I think this matters because it turns your experience into evidence. It also prevents you from going into appointments only able to say, I feel awful, which is true but gets dismissed too easily. Second, bring up guidelines, especially nice menopause guidance. What this really suggests is that you're not asking for something weird or experimental. You're asking for care that matches recognized standards. From my perspective, mentioning nice can shift the vibe from a patient opinion to a clinical framework, which changes how seriously some appointments start. Third, ask for the reasoning, not just the outcome. If HRT isn't being considered, you can ask why. What many people don't realize is that this one question forces the clinician to clarify whether the barrier is safety concerns, lack of experience, risk assessment, or simple inertia. And if you still aren't being heard, seek specialist routes, like menopause clinics. Dr. Arif suggests that if your GP remains unhelpful, a specialist NHS menopause clinic can offer a more appropriate assessment pathway. Personally, I think this is the only move that respects the reality. Not every GP appointment will be the moment you get your care unlocked, and that's not your fault. Now, here's my reflection that I don't think we talk about enough. Many women hear normal blood tests and assume that means their body is lying. But perimenopause is not a single switch. It's a chaotic transition. So when the system relies too heavily on test snapshots, it risks missing the bigger picture. Symptoms are data. And that's the deeper trend I see everywhere, from television storylines to social media advocacy. We're finally treating women's health as something that deserves the same rigorous, symptom-led care we expect in other areas. Personally, I think the culture is shifting, but the clinics can lag behind. That lag creates desperation, because you can't wait and see when your sleep is evaporating and your mood feels like it's being pushed off a cliff. So my takeaway is simple but not easy. If you suspect perimenopause, advocate like it matters, because it does. Write down your symptoms, cite credible guidance, ask for explanations, and push for appropriate options. Personally, I hope more women get the kind of conversation Honey deserved on EastEnders, because nobody should have to feel like they're pretending to be okay just to earn basic care. If you're watching this and nodding along, tell me one thing. What did your last appointment get wrong? Was it timing, testing, or the treatment conversation?